have this amalgamation of players that come from all kinds of games. This is a dream scenario in my eyes.
It's like really cool to see new players come and compete against me.
VALORANT's just getting started.
I like that.
Welcome to my world.
It's now time to see who actually wants this more.
And in terms of like the road to get here,
These players have brought everything to this tournament.
It's all about to go down.
It was intense, to say the least.
These guys are looking so damn good right now.
What a play from Sean!
What's up with it?
I'm gonna run in, and I'm gonna kill your whole team.
The mega trigger discipline. Oh, that patience paying dividends.
Oh my word! Stop it! This is what we came here for.
How has he managed to do that?
You know what? I saw it in the video. It says we are taking over, and that's darn right. NA is taking over as week 2 begins here for the NA Masters Valley. We've already watched 4 days of competitions, and a couple teams have been sent home, but we've still got a few more fighting for their chance at that #1 spot.
You know what, Bob? What we've been seeing so far when it comes to the VCT Masters 1 has been absolutely incredible, right? Watching other regions, I was watching EU this morning. Shout out to Pansy and everyone else out there. I got so excited for today. I don't think everyone realized this was going down. FaZe versus Sentinels, 100 Thieves and Gen.G. Bach, just throw it at us, man. Let's get the games going.
Well, before we get into the games, we're not the only region that's live. You mentioned EU, but there's several regions around the world currently live with their own Masters, and Riot has whipped up a little bit of a recap video to catch us up on the last week or so of action. Let's take a look.
the rest of the push now begins.
Level low.
Fault line perfectly catching Dimisic. Shout. Oh, he tries to knife it. Shout.
공짜로 가져갈 수 있는 그런 화력 차이거든요. 그렇죠. 이렇게 되면은 정말 소모 없이.
네.
와! 성강 연계!
네.
기가 막혔습니다. 지금 성강 폭발.
오, 이번에도 했습니다.
와, 3명을 다 맞췄어요.
네, 트레이드는
와, 기아!
몇 번 이기죠?
우와! 에이스? 설마라 기아 에이스?
I think my favorite part about all of those videos is hearing the foreign language casters, hearing people cast in other languages, and how excited they get. And I'm like, man, I kind of feel like we talk a little fast sometimes until I hear some of the Korean casters and the Latin casters. I'm like, oh my gosh, totally different level.
It sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. It gets me even more hyped. So just watching that video and getting ready for today, I'm excited for these ones. I mean, we got some hype casters lined up to bring us the action at the same time.
Well, looking at last week's action, like we said, there was already 4 days of competition. So we aren't just starting fresh here. This isn't the beginning. We're coming towards a conclusion. But we can look at some replays to kind of give us an idea of what happened during that last week, during days 1 through 4, because we did see some teams sent home, unfortunately. Teams that we didn't necessarily anticipate seeing sent home, Potter.
Yeah, definitely not. And I mean, look at these clips. Envy, Food, he started off hot. And it was actually perfect timing too, because we had that nice little intro piece introducing his timing play on that Haven, and he never let up. And of course, we've got to include these FaZe Baby Bay clips. That quick scope. Oh man, just the aggression coming out of some of these duelists last week. It was just mind-blowing.
I mean, looking specifically at the FaZe and Sentinels clips, it's hard not to focus on that matchup even just a little bit because of the combination of what those teams are bringing into the fold, really. Look at just the firepower that we've seen in some of these clips, but at the same point in time, there's players that really didn't get that level of highlight, and they're still popping off at times. This one obviously being Win. He had some great games, and we'll be looking at Win in just a moment, as that'll be one of our first games of the day there for Gen.G. Unfortunately, this is one of the teams that was sent home, Belly. We saw Immortals eliminated from contention. Now look at this.
Mix was muted. I have no idea why, but Immortals were the standout team. You know what? Yeah, they got eliminated, and you know what? That doesn't mean that they're bad. They just had the short end of the stick, man. The teams that they went against, just, you know, the breed, it was amazing. But Shot Up and everybody else on that roster really did have a really good performance. It was just unfortunate that they had to go against 100 Thieves in the first round. And then after that, it was just like, okay, man, what else you want to throw at us? Luminosity, like, that's just not fair, man.
Yeah, and then looking at the other team that was eliminated as well, Xset goes up against FaZe. At the beginning, we were like, okay, this game might be pretty good. The FaZe is so incredibly dominant in that series. They really set a tempo for the tournament, and they continued that in the second match as well against Envy. Xset goes down against Gen.G, not able to best them there, Vansili. So those are our two teams who have currently been eliminated, but today's an elimination day as well. There are teams that will be sent home.
Very, very sad day, unfortunately, for two other teams, and we're going to see them first, right? It is going to be potentially Gen.G, potentially other teams right now where it's been some great competitions throughout the whole first weekend of last week. And there was a lot of question marks going into this one. For me, Envy, as I predicted for them to win this whole Masters, I feel that they still have a bit of a jitter. They don't have that oomph that they needed to surpass all those big obstacles when it comes down to those big events. Yes, they won a Challengers, but now that we get into the Masters, they fell short versus FaZe.
Now, do you still think that they're going to win the whole thing?
Of course, man. I got to stick to it. I got to stick to it.
My man, there you go.
Someone mute this man's mic before he says something too dumb. You know, I'm worried a little bit now that they're in the lower bracket, but focusing on our first match of the day, we've got 100 Thieves in Gen.G, and it's really hard to talk about 100 Thieves without talking about their young gun, the young fragger, Asuna. Riot had a chance to sit down and talk to him about his journey through First Strike. Let's take a look.
Winning First Strike felt great. We've only been a team for 3 months, and we just came in and won the biggest tournament at that point. Even though a lot of the fans expected us to win, just kind of as a player, it wasn't really expected.
Through the smoke! Oh, they're annihilating TSM. There's only 2 players left. There's a 2 versus 4 for TSM. They have to find a way out of this situation, but it's getting worse in this grand finals as Colors tries. He does all that he can, but it's simply not enough against 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves, they've done it. They are your First Strike North America champions.
It felt really good as individuals, but I mean, I always want to win with people that I know and care about. I feel like if I knew them for 2 years and we won something, it'd feel like, man, all that hard work paid off. I enjoyed the moment of winning it and everything. Felt like I cemented my name, but I feel like this is just the start.
Oh, here we go! Asuna with free flash. The setup is insane.
Asuna, there's just one word for that kid, and it's cracked.
That sort of pressure that he puts onto his opponents, that's valuable, especially for 100 Thieves.
We're gonna fight again. A good paranoia, Asuna. Oh, the shot's good. Can he find more? Are you kidding me, Asuna?
He really showed up and gained a spotlight at the time when the only other person doing the things that he does was Tens.
I have a lot more confidence in my play after hearing all this praise I get, but I understand I have to limit and not have an ego. It feels good that I have support of my fans and my parents and my teammates, and they encourage me to keep playing like I do. I don't want to think I'm the best player in the world, but I want to play like I am one.
Okay, well, that's one way to do it.
I feel like we still have so much to learn. Expect us to improve a lot in this week going up to the second week of Masters. I feel like it would silence all the doubters if we won Masters. It will show that we're here to start a dynasty.
Definitely a pretty sick trophy there hoisted at the end by Asuna. But Veli, looking at the competition on the right side, you've got Gen.G, who's coming into this one. They had a bumpy ride at first, but they're starting to heat up throughout the bracket play through this lower bracket.
Yeah, and heating up is definitely a key word that's going to be important in this series. Take a look at Gen.G's roster, and you look at players such as Sean, you look at players such as Win, where they can come into a match and just be, as hot as anything out there, right? Especially Win. He is probably the best, most aggressive player on this team. But the thing is, which Win are you actually going to get? Now, this team, they have a playstyle that's very good. They adapt extremely well off defaults, and they go for those retakes. And if you have that consistent aggression coming in from Win, and also those flanks from GMD, I think that this roster can really stick it to 100 Thieves.
One could call that the win condition.
The win condition, yes. Give this man a raise, right? There you go.
Alex, looking at the competition, though, on the other side, you've got 100 Thieves, and there is so much firepower there, so much pedigree. Just the
Exactly.
experience from other games.
Yeah, I think the key word for 100 Thieves at this point has been improvement, right? Looking from their day one until now, too. They switched their compositions. We've talked about quite often. But at the same time, was it enough? When they played versus Sentinels, ooh, it looked pretty one-sided there for Sentinels in that series. So now they had a full week to recoup, rejig their strategy, and see if it's going to be enough versus Gen.G. And face-to-face between these two teams, they've been close series. I mean, we've looked at overtime matches on Ascent, overtime matches on Haven. This could be a very close game and a close series overall.
Potter, looking at the two players that we really want to talk about coming into this series, we've got Ethan, who is a newcomer to this 100 Thieves roster and keeps stepping up his game. And then we've got Kusta, who's been locking things down as a Sentinel.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we're taking the time to highlight both of these players, right? Every top team needs an Ethan and they need a Kusta. They're not going to be the flashiest of players. Their kit, the agents that they play don't really allow them to do that. They don't have the crazy mobility. They don't have the crazy frag potential on contact. But what these two players do really well is sticking to those fundamentals. They'll always be there to trade. They'll always be there to find a lurk, find a trade, find a multi-kill. And that sort of impact that both of these guys provide for their respective squads is really what pushes them over the line in those tight games, is sticking to those fundamentals and making sure that the rounds are well-rounded.
Now, we can talk all day about rosters, we can talk all day about players, but where we go could dictate where the series goes. I'm speaking specifically of maps, of course, as that's always going to kind of change things up. And we'll be taking a look at the map selection in just a second. We do have it up, though. It's going to be 100 Thieves who start off by banning Split, Gen.G ban Bind. So we're moving over to Ascent. And Potter, we talked about this. 100 Thieves on Ascent was a little rough. Lack of flashes in the composition could be a potential problem for them.
It definitely could be, right? I mean, we just think back of that series versus Sentinels last week. They only got 2 rounds on the attack side. Now, with the composition that they were running, they really got to rely on at least finding that first entry to allow themselves some breathing room, right? They don't have the initiator in Nitro on that breach like we see on all the other maps. He's on the Sage. So definitely, I think starting off on defense first is going to give them that sort of breathing room that they're looking for. But yeah, those lack of flashes, I'm interested to see if they change some things up here today.
Before we get into the agent select, the VCT and LCS condemn the rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. According to Stop AAPI Hate, a nonprofit formed in March of 2020 to prevent discrimination during the coronavirus pandemic, Asians were targeted in nearly 3,800 hate incidents over the past year. The VCT and LCS stand with the Asian American community and all disenfranchised and marginalized communities that have experienced racism, hate, and discrimination. Our hearts go out to the families and communities of those who have been harmed or have lost their lives due to hate crimes and discrimination. The VCT and LCS teams believe in a future where we can all be on a level playing field, and we at Riot remain committed to help fight injustices. We are currently working toward internally to determine a unified path forward, and in the meantime, encourage everyone to continue educating themselves on these issues and to support some of the organizations dedicated to breaking down racial barriers if you're able.
I got VMX muted as well, so it's not Spelly, it's me as well. But it's myself, DDK. Got Sean Gares on the mic with me here for this first epic matchup of today. It's the lower bracket finals. Lower bracket matchup. Sorry, not quite at the lower bracket finals just yet, but it might feel like that, Sean, because Gen.G is a team that's looking very scary. It's a rematch situation against 100 Thieves. I feel like the maps are looking pretty good going into this.
Yeah, the maps are really good for both teams because both these teams aren't really split experts, right? So getting that out of the way, and then Gen.G doesn't really like to play bind much. So we have 3 maps that both of these teams are very drilled on. I think this series could go either way. The fan favorite is probably 100 Thieves, but Gen.G, I'm telling you, from what I've seen out of them, they have tons of these like little pocket strats where they're not running a default style as much as the other teams. And they could easily just blow up 100 Thieves defense with these strats that I'm seeing.
Yeah, you know, going into Ascent as well, there's a lot of history between these two teams there. It's a map that was picked by Gen.G. It's a map where they've taken 100 Thieves to overtime before. It's a map that's maybe the most familiar, I feel like, for CS players. You can get a lot of default action there. You can really slow things down. You can play those mid and late rounds out. So it's got its own specific pace. And that is a great start, but it feels like, again, historically speaking, that it's almost a must-win for Gen.G here, going into Bind in the second map. Oh, sorry, Icebox in the second map. That's one where previously against 100 Thieves, they haven't done so well, Sean. So if we're just looking at statistics and history, is that going to tell us or be a good indication of the story here? Or do you feel like there's more that we don't know just yet?
I think there's a lot more that we don't know, especially when it comes to Gen.G. When I look at their comps, they're constantly shifting their comps in the last month. And since they've stabilized on what we're probably going to see in this best of 3, they've had way more success. So it's difficult because when we look at the history of Gen.G, we're including a lot of results that probably we shouldn't factor into this equation here. And then similarly with 100 Thieves, right? We look at all these results they have, and they have so many results with Dicey instead of Ethan. And replacing a Jet with an Omen and then Nitro going to a Breach or potentially a Sage. You know, looking at their past results is a little bit weird. So this series is way more of a toss-up, I think, than people realize.
And there's so many things that you mentioned there that we could talk about. But one of the things I feel like I have to focus on a little bit is the Sage and Nitro on Ascent, because we saw so many walls that, you know, let's say, you know, just tricky walls like looking over smokes, for example, on A main, and various gimmicky stuff like, you know, that was really effective. But it feels like if you know that's coming, if you've seen it once, if you've done any studying, it seems like that you might not get as much love against a team like Gen.G that does like to study their opponents. So are we expecting to see a run-of-the-mill composition from 100 Thieves, or are you expecting something different as we go into the agent select?
I mean, that's a great question, because I think 100 Thieves has the flexibility and experience in their players to get a little loose in the agent draft. And we've seen them do that with Nitro in particular, like you mentioned. But because of the fact that they've been playing this drilled style, it's difficult. In the middle of a tournament, they have had a few days. So, I mean, they could definitely throw a curveball here at Gen.G and switch up their comp totally. But from what I've seen in the pro scene, teams don't like doing that, especially the strategic teams like 100 Thieves, because you would have to change everything, right? Removing that Sage from gameplay and replacing it with like an Omen, everything changes when you have a tactical team like 100 Thieves. So you can't really do that. I think we're going to see more of the same from Nitro, and especially on Ascent when he plays that Sage, like you said. He's pre-slowing B main on attack. He's pre-slowing A main when he's over there. He has so many weird slow lineups, and he does a great job with the walls, like you mentioned.
And I think it is fair to say that 100 Thieves are the expected on paper winners of this series. Gen.G are coming in as the underdogs. What are the win conditions you feel like, just starting off with Ascent? What has to go well for Gen.G to be able to take this first map?
Yeah, I'm gonna this is the elephant in the room here, clearly, right? Gen.G Sean, I can't say it any other way, right? I'm Gen.G Sean, but I'm not the one I'm talking about here, right? So Gen.G Sean, the guy that plays Reyna in the server right now, he is going to be the factor, honestly, to look out for, because playing that Reyna against a team like 100 Thieves, you could play so disruptive. And every player on a roster like 100 Thieves has immense value when they're in-game led by someone like Steel. Everyone has a reason for every piece of utility. So when you go aggressive with someone like Reyna and you take a Breach out of the equation, all of a sudden, everything changes for Steel. He has to reevaluate everything they went over And, you know, when they were going over dry running strats, they did it with 5 players. They didn't do it without a breach. So Sean's aggression and breaking down the defaults of 100 Thieves is where I think this, if he has success, I've got Gen.G all the way here. If he is falling short, I have 100 Thieves. I think there's a lot on that man's shoulders right now.
So I guess then it begs the question, you know, where in the default for 100 Thieves do you feel like they would be weakest? Because I feel like, you know, what you would normally expect to see, as you're talking about with Sean, is, okay, let's throw some aggression in at the beginning of the round. You can move the Reyna around between, you know, cat and A main and B main and maybe mid. You know, there's all these little opportunities for mixing up the positions, but that can be predictable. You can slow your pace down. If you're 100 Thieves, you can try to catch those plays. So it feels like it's a lot harder, well, easier said than done. So what would you expect to see in terms of that?
Yeah, you know, it's so hard. It's so much harder in the server than it is for me to just say this right now. But I would say if he's going to look for fights, he should probably go into Hiko, right? Hiko's a very passive player. He's not ever really with the team. So if you can sense out where the rest of the team is, you can have a good idea where Hiko is, and you can take the fight to him. And the same thing for Steel, right? Both of these players are on polar opposite sides of the map, and they're alone most of the time. So I think if Sean can find those 2 players and take 1v1s against them, Gen.G's in a good spot. It's just about finding those fights. It's very difficult. It's hard to find those fights when you play 100 Thieves. Like you said, I mean, it's way easier said than done.
So, I mean, we talked a little bit about Ascent, and, you know, we have some extra time here. So let's talk some about Icebox. Again, we're looking at the history to remind people. I think it was something like a 13-4. The precise score doesn't matter too much because it was effective. Well, you know what? I think we're getting saved, but we're actually going to be jumping into the agent select here. So for Ascent, we don't have to talk about Icebox just yet, which is great because I think the focus obviously should be on this first map as we go into it. And a lot on the line here. So let's first of all take stock. Anything unusual?
I'm seeing everything I would expect out of both the teams so far. I mean, obviously Hiko's hovering over this Viper. We all know he's going to lock in Sova. Astra's not even in play. Nitro, come on, let's just stop the trolls. You're locking in that Sage. I think everything is going to fall right into line with what we expect. I will say though, Dan, I think you've even mentioned this. They're kind of leaving Asuna on an island lately when I watch them. Before he had Dicey to open things up with him and create space. Dicey on the jet, you know, dashing in aggressively, using his teammates' utility. But when you lack a second duelist and you lack a jet, so you're using the raised satchels to create that space, it kind of is like feeding Asuna to the wolves, right? He's very likely to just die or maybe get 1 frag to open things up. So his impact doesn't seem as high as it was around the first strike time when we saw it. I mean, when you and I were casting and winning that first strike, he was popping off every single game. And we haven't really seen that lately.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think it definitely goes towards why Nitro had so much success on the Sage previously. There was a lot of kills available to him because, as you say, it wasn't really coming from Asuna. Asuna was the distraction. He was creating space, but yeah, lacking that second duelist. I'm just, of course, reiterating what you're saying. The kills were being found instead of that second duelist by someone like Nitro or Ethan or Steel. So that interesting dynamic because, of course, that's something I'm 100% sure that's 100 Thieves are aware of. So maybe it's just the case that in certain plays, that is enough. Asuna's doing his job. He's not supposed to necessarily be getting all of the kills, but if he gets the opportunity to do so, of course, we know that he has the skill to be able to do that. And here we go. We're about to kick things off here. Map 1, Ascent between Gen.G and 100 Thieves in this best of 3, a lower round 2 matchup. It's going to be a good one. So make sure you tell your friends and get everybody strapped in. Sean, what are you seeing off the bat?
Let's see. So right off the bat, we have a mid control. This is definitely going to be a mid control round from the attackers. And it looks like Nitro is going to be over this B site. And his goal is to make sure no one can push B, right? He has a wall. He has slows. He's going to offer a quick rotate to come in. I'm sure we're going to see a wall if Steel spots anything. But we're not going to see that. And Omen's putting so much pressure on mid. GMT is aggressively taking this stand.
GMT lining up the paranoia there for Catwalk and Tree, and that's going to allow his teammates to enter, or maybe not. The counter utility there from Asuna, the paint shells will actually deny them, and that's a great win early on here for the likes of Gen.G. Asuna, though, playing around in the smoke, trying to see if he can find something. He was spotted there. Could be some spam that might find a kill, but very tentative action here. Very scary things, but a reset just buying some time, and it looks like they want to re-exec in towards that tree position. But Gen.G, they're still holding on to this. They don't want to give it up.
What a great smoke coming in from Ethan. And the triple cat setup versus the cat hit. Gen.G is coming out on top.
Rushing straight through to the side as well. So it's looking pretty good for them in terms of the side take. But of course, you know, the post plant, the retake is now on. See Hiko just maintaining control of rafters. And 100 Thieves will just set themselves up here, readying themselves to coordinate in for a push.
Oh, this is going to be such a hard retake here for 100 Thieves. They have the paranoia still. They do not. So this is going to be almost impossible without an A main smoke.
There we go, straight through the door, making the action happen. Gen.G only with the side to defend from, but they are connecting the bullets that they need to win this round. Great stuff there from Gen.G to hold that retake against 100 Thieves. And already, I'm liking what we're seeing, Sean. We're seeing plays, we're seeing counters, you know, action, reaction, and it's not looking too one-sided. Every sort of situation looks like it could go either way. That, to me, signals good things going forward here.
Yeah, I love the play out of Gen.G. I mean, I mentioned Ethan's perfect time on the counter smoke, but here's the thing. If they just jump through that smoke on a pistol round, the likelihood of them getting, you know, 2 of them taken out is so unlikely. You get vision so quick coming out of that Omen smoke. They just plow through it, take the A site, and they get the frag on Omen. So there's no smokes for A main, there's no paranoia into the site, and the hold just becomes so much easier for Gen.G. Really sick take there.
And I'm really happy. I'm always happy to see, especially the underdog team in a matchup at the beginning of the series, on the attacking side, winning the pistol and getting to start to set the pace, maybe condition their opponents. They get to play their game plan. And then in that sense, I like to see that because it's just really cool to see what a team is prepared without having too many problems thrown in the works early on. Now, of course, we have a pause at the moment, so we'll get to talk about the setup, or what we should expect, at least from Gen.G. You know, they've just won the pistol round. We can actually see there that Steel's bought a Bucky, and we know, of course, he loves playing with the Bucky, especially around the A site. But it's a stack towards the B site otherwise for the rest of the 100 Thieves members. So that seems to be the place where Gen.G would find the most problems. But Gen.G tend to be a team, Sean, I've noticed on Ascent, that they play their anti-ecos fairly predictably. And that has actually been punished in the previous matches that I've seen from them. Once the team kind of realizes that the kind of flow that they have throughout the kind of early to mid round.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Steel with that Bucky. It's terrifying. It's terrifying watching him because he knows the optimal distance for that right click. He pings the ground, you know, gets X meters away where he can one-shot people with ease, and he plays it so well. He plays it like some kind of weird mad scientist that's trying to make all of his opponents mauled by one-shotting them with a Bucky, right? And then he has a turret holding his catwalk, and you can see he placed that turret in such a way where if the enemies smoke those stairs, the turret won't get smoked off. So it's in the exact little corner to dodge that. And then the molly he has at the A site, that's by the switch. So if the team does an A strat and, you know, they're rushing the A site, he'll back off and he'll pop that Molotov so that way no one can close the door. It's actually brilliant. His setup right here at the A site, because he's all alone, it's an eco round, he's going to have a Bucky. He's just trying to do a lot of damage and make people go the other way. Meanwhile, these other 4 guys on 100 Thieves are going to stack the B site. It could get scary. It could get scary if Gen.G doesn't take this correctly. But if you look at Gen.G, you know, their turret's deep outside of B main, so we're probably going to see something more passive over towards B. They're honestly looking like they're going to gravitate more towards an A control type anti-eco.
And one of the things I've noticed too about Gen.G's approach in the anti-eco is that they tend to kind of late finish around market and after, you know, gaining information. Obviously, it always depends on the info that they've gained as to how they will make decisions around that. But, well, the action is about to kick off and it will give us the answers we're looking for. And
little HUD glitch there with Win on the Viper. Only in our dreams. Only in our dreams, Dan. Look at this aggression. The arrow through the smoke.
So we'll be able to defend that. So definitely we're anticipating early round aggression. And, well, they might not walk into Steel now, having killed a bunch of players towards B main. Hiko, that's actually a really great kill to get, especially in a forward position. No one's going to really want to push into B main now, especially because Kusa's alone. He will be the only person to do it.
Yeah, and they just spotted Steel on Catwalk, so they know both players are 1-1 split right now. If they make a move quick, Gen.G will have a 1-on-3 out of sight. You can see GMD lurks out A main, and he's doing this because he knows 1 cat, 1 B, so he knows A is open. But his team is rushing B right into these two players, Dan.
Oh god, it's starting to get a little bit scary. Another headshot coming in from Hiko with that Sheriff, and it's going to slow things down. And they're going to have to wait for GMD. Indeed, that's that late lurk through A definitely paying off. This is a lot of damage, and it just goes to show why Gen.G gave so much respect to 100 Thieves here, because despite winning the round, that was pretty losable. And just 2 players left. Very dangerous situation. But regardless, it will be a conversion, 2 rounds to 0 now in favor of Gen.G, moving into the first buy round.
Yeah, I really like how Gen.G's approaching these early rounds. They had a safety net, right? That's why I like to call these, GMD's lurk, right? Typically, you don't want that lurk across the map, but on these eco rounds where you're going to run into stacks, people taking heavy risks because they don't have the utility, they don't have the weapons to take the one-on-ones like they would on a normal round. So you're going to see a lot of stacks, a lot of aggression, kind of similar to what we saw at 100 Thieves. So how do you combat that? You leave people on the opposite side of the map to take ground while you push the side you're on. So GMD acts as, a safety blanket. They fall back into him and he secures the round.
So going into the first defaults in his buy rounds, because we have some Spectres still in play for Gen.G, what would you want to see them actually try and accomplish here? Are we looking for a faster round to kind of make good of those Spectres? Is that too predictable? Does Gen.G just want to start, setting the pace for how their defaults are going to look in the 4 buy rounds? What should they be up to here?
There's really no right answer, right? Because if they go slow, they bleed out utility from the other team. That's costing them money. If they take armor away from the other team, that's upgrades to them. If they rush all in one spot with the Spectres have a better chance. So they have a lot of approaches they could do here, but you can see they left enough money in the bank. They didn't buy out fully because even if they lose this round, they can buy again next round. Oh, wow, that's a lot of info. Win pushes through the one-way smoke at A main, Dan, breaks the boombot, one-ways himself into safety, takes the orb. That's a big play from a Jet alone in A main.
Yeah, and we can see that GMD's actually gained some forward position in mids, and he's going to be throwing that paranoia. We saw that previously to clear out position.
Oh, no.
Catwalk, Asuna, though, able to defend, able to pick up the first kills. It's looking a little bit scary, but nice trace coming through from Michael, and GMD able to punish the rotation. That's what he was always there to do after that paranoia, so it's working out quite nicely so far for Gen.G, but Hiko, always a problem, especially when he's by himself. He gets even stronger, takes down Michael. 2 more players on the side to go as he starts to try to work this Gen position. Very difficult finding the 1v1s, isolating players, but there's simply too much to do before Steel is arriving. And arrive he does, and with the Bucky no less. Straight through the smoke! You saw it happening, but GMD, he had the sense, he knew something was awry, and he manages to pick it up. 3-0 for Gen.G.
Yeah, I pointed out early in the round, when taking control of A main, Dan, that was huge, because if you saw the minimap, 300 Thieves players really wanted to take A main this round. They threw a one-way smoke, they had a boombot, Hiko was there as the Sova, they were ready to push A main, and one Jet pushed them off of it, right? Which means they probably are assuming more people than just the Jet or A main, but they're wrong. It's a fast cat split, and it caught them massively off guard. Great round by Gen.G.
Very promising to see such a solid start, but his early days still, of course. And 100 Thieves once again on the eco, looking to get aggressive in mid around Cat. You can see they have players positioned fairly close by, all around market and close mid. Michael with the drone.
Is dead. Steel is dead, Dan. Oh, but
that's a big
there's
pickup.
a lack of punishing, and the drone misses Steel. This is terrible.
Uh-oh, it's starting to get a little bit scary. Gen.G, going to be defending pretty effectively, though. Still, damage has been done. We can see the situation is reset. 2 versus 2, and a lurk from Win into that A site is going to give Gen.G an opportunity to get the spike planted, which is going to be a very, very difficult scenario I would expect from 100 Thieves. And Win has that forward positioning on rafters, so he's going to be able to get info, fall back. He's going to be able to shut them down. He's got Cloudburst available, the dash as well.
Beautiful position, Dan.
And there it is. Gets the kill, plays it safe, dashes away, and then he knows precisely where Hiko is. And Hiko's, of course, going to give his position away with the recon dart. Very difficult position to find yourself in. Hiko, no stranger to a clutch. Sheriff in hand as he tries to find the first player. There is Win, and he's going to finish it off. Gen.G 4-0 up, but another anti-eco that's very scary, Sean.
Whew. I don't know how I did it. I talked about Gen.G a lot in the pregame with you, and we didn't really mention much Win. He is such an impressive player when I watch him. So many experienced plays, like lurking out of A right there. I mentioned the round before on an anti-ecos, have lurks on the opposite side of the map that can take ground. He did exactly that in the 2-on-2 and then pushed further into heaven to secure the round. I think if I had a word to describe him, it would be slippery. Like, he's very slippery. You can't find him, you can't catch him. He's so good with the movement abilities on Jet.
I'm liking how he's also representing once again that he's by himself doing this A main control. You can see his teammates are sort of lagging behind him, and that is part of their default. So it's always the case that, is it just Win or is it the entire team, question mark? Either way.
If you caught that, Dan, so he got paranoid, and GMD threw a counter paranoia to protect him in case anyone was pushing. But no one else is making noise. So 100 Thieves has no idea that 5 people are in A main right now, because it looks exactly like that cat split from the prior round. Look how out of position 100 Thieves is right now.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a full retake scenario for 100 Thieves here. They've completely given up control of the A site by design. We've got the lockdown destroyed. Steal. If he gets a kill, he actually has a lockdown available himself. Not operator though. It's awkward at the best of times on a retake like this. Oh, so scary. A full 5-on-5
fight, Dan. That's a huge win from Mikael on Catwalk.
Hiko now railing onto the A site. There comes the Showstopper as well. That's going to find Win in hell, and it seems like all the ults are going to be used in this round for this retake. Michael and Kusta just stuck behind this dark cover. It's going to be so difficult. They're going to have to try to force the issue here because Estik is coming. Michael, can he get it done? Finds the second pistol, comes out, and Steel's going to find it. Has to get off the spike to do it, but he will get it. And that's the first round awarded to 100 Thieves. Crazy scenario there, Sean. Just a full 5-on-5 retake with so many ults used.
Yeah, that's a bonkers round right there. And 100 Thieves absolutely needed that to stop the bleeding, right? Wasting those ults that we saw, Hiko pop. Now they're in a pretty decent spot. Steel on that operator. He has the lockdown in his back pocket, so they could play passive on one of the sites. Nitro 1 orb away from the res. Even though the economy is lying in Gen.G's favor, these ults are shifting now into 100 Thieves' favor.
Once again, we see Win sort of representing that he might be the solo control around A main, but as we can see, the entire team of Gen.G is behind this A main take, and they're going to go for the swing. Ethan spots it. Orb is collected. Win, he's definitely looking to find a moment to go in here. The drone will go in first. Positions wine will be cleared, and now that's the go for Gen.G straight into the site. Once again, though, it's going to be given up, but Gen.G, or rather 100 Thieves have the lockdown now that can be placed around Cat, and that's what Steel's about to do. There we go. Is there anything to destroy this?
Immediately countered by Mikael. He's so ready, and it's down. It's a 5-on-5 retake again, Dan, but no ults this time.
And we have those knives out for Win as well, so I feel like that's going to be very dangerous. It'll be so much harder to clear out these closer positions against him with no showstopper. There's so many players rafters.
They're scared to go.
And they should be. They should be extremely scared. They're going to have to force the issue. There goes the turret, and it's starting to swing together. Win stuck in the cloudburst, sprayed down by Asuna. It is very difficult here for 100 Thieves, and it gets just worse and worse as Gen.G are able to defend all of these players coming out rafters, leaving Steel in a position where he just has to save, and might be able to get one on the exit, but it's another round for Gen.G.
He needs to save this. Yeah, this this is a scary spot for 100 Thieves, Dan, because what I'm seeing early is they have found a weakness in 100 Thieves Ascent. And the weakness is that this A main control is very lacking. It's not coordinated enough on 100 Thieves. And Gen.G's just strolling right up and getting it with a jet every single round. You know, there's not enough aggression on 100 Thieves right now to stop this A main. And then they're trying to play retake on A, which is a huge fail in these 5-on-5s.
And you can see 4 players for A main control here for 100 Thieves this time around. They've got Asana's attention on that position. Of course, it is somewhat of a save round, still carrying what he had through previously, that operator. But otherwise, it looks like Gen.G are in a pretty good spot here. And that said, Steel is pretty good at finding these kills by himself, and the operator is the perfect weapon to do this with. And if he gets a pick and is able to fall back, that's going to be a massive, massive win for 100 Thieves in this round. Oh, that's
what a
a
peek
great
from
jump
Kusta.
peek.
That's insane. And then they're waiting on the opposite side. Holy cow, Kusta with a 200 IQ jump play.
Oh, that's so good. Because if Steel gets that pick and is able to fall back somehow, it could certainly buy a lot of time. But that's it. Operator is down, out of the picture. And 100 Thieves, they're starting to look pretty desperate, Sean, but I completely agree with you. It feels like they have to aggressively win a main control at the start of their next run round. It feels like there's nothing else that makes sense at this point.
Yeah, they have to win a main against Win. And it was too easy. You're saying but when Win spots, Nitro pushing a main as a Sage, he also feels the Omen's pressure. He feels the pressure from, I believe, one other player. His impact is incredible because he's spotting this push, and you can tell that the pace of the rest of the Gen.G players is coming in based on his comms, right? He's calling, they're pushed aggressively A main. What does that mean? That means probably mid or B is really weak right now. Let's take advantage of that. So Kusta's aware, hey, they saved an op last round. I got to be really careful around these angles because the rest of the guys are A main and the op's not there. Let me jump peek this B main corner. And once they find him, it's just over. Once they find out exactly woo, we're trying to switch it up and go into Steel, and that's not gonna work. That's the first time I think an early pick has gone in 100 Thieves' favor.
It feels like Gen.G expected there to be heavier aggression A main as well, because it looks like they were in positions to just burst onto B, expecting maybe 3 players pushing A main, but that's not the case. They just had Steel there. So it seems like now, because of that, Gen.G are coming out really behind in the mid round, because there's 3 players to slow them down from 100 Thieves, and there you go, Asana finding the kill pizza, and oh, I love the ice orb there to help Asana reclaim the ground in mid, and that completely destroys this split. Nitro playing around the wall as well. It's a desperation push at this point from Gen.G, and it's failed.
Wow, and I mean, we see it a lot in EU. If you've been watching EU lately, the Sages at B with that wall exactly like that, and then slows where they could chuck them into mid or slow down B if people try to come through the wall. And then the wall creates an extra angle for you to hide behind if you're Nitro right there. There's so much difficulty for attackers coming into B when that wall is up. I mean, I can't even state how difficult it is, right? Because he is creating new angles that you now have to be aware of when he puts up this wall. And then he's slowing the other side of the push. So you can't really pinch him properly, and you have to use utility to clear out these angles that your strats probably aren't really designed to clear out. So, I mean, Nitro plays the Sage role so well when I watch him in this B side. It's another great example of it.
Yeah, great stuff. And I want to know, how many times was Sage nerfed and she's still amazing? It's
yeah,
it's amazing.
If you see here, he slows like that, and then Asana has paint shells ready to nade if he sees any pressure. But the timing!
Oh, just contacting straight through. Nitro was not expecting that. No tell at all. Just straight out in there, in his face. And that's the B side under control here. Gen.G switching up the pace on 100 Thieves. And they'll even drop the lockdown. So that's going to really slow things down for 100 Thieves retake. Ooh. Okay, everybody's in spawn here now for 100 Thieves.
It has the showstopper damage. Other than that, get in the sight. Paranoia on the Omen maybe?
There's the showstopper. Win goes down. towards the logs. Asuna with a good entry. It's looking not too bad right now for 100 Thieves. Gen.G starting to fight back though. There's the fake TP from G&D. Finds the timing onto Asuna. And that's going to lock down the round. Another one in the bag for Gen.G. What an incredible start from there. 7-2. That is a huge lead. And GMD actually, 13 for 3. He is fragging out. So always good to see your Roman fragging out.
There's nothing better in this game than when an Omen breaks the ankles off of someone with a fake TP, Dan. There's nothing better when Asuna turned his head not knowing where that TP went to. Oh, I love seeing that out of GMD. Gen.G is playing so loose, and this is what I was worried of for 100 Thieves, because they're breaking the timings with this aggression. Oh no, Nitro misses the wall, I think, a little bit right there. And the fights continue at A main.
And 1-for-1 at least, as far as Gen.G are concerned, that will have them at an advantage. Quick information play coming through from Ethan, regaining control around A main. But as I say that, the peek from Steel in mid is punished.
So that means alarm bot down, Dan. Turret down. No impact from a Killjoy. Oh, scary 3-on-3 for 100 Thieves.
They get the drone tag, but there's over a minute left. So going for the frags, and I don't know how Sean wins that one or how that even missed for Nitro, but it is what it is, and that's a 4 versus 2 advantage. Make that 4 versus 1. Kiko in the 1 versus 4. I don't know about this time, lads. We'll have to see, but it's a tough one.
Look, we've said in the past we're not going to count Higo and clutches, Dan. 8-2. I'm counting him out. I'm counting him out. Not possible.
I feel like that is reasonable. And he's down to 10 HP. Shock Dust coming through. Now there is an operator that could be saved, but I believe, but he will go down to Sean. So, you know, you mentioned Sean needs to have some impact in this game, and I feel like Sean's been doing a pretty good job. But really, for me, it feels like it is a team effort. Despite Win not having that many kills, it doesn't matter, because what he's doing in terms of creating space for the team, his part of the default, and entering sites has been extremely impactful. So everybody, it's absolutely a team effort right now from Gen.G. They are looking well oiled.
Yeah, and the confidence on the duelist, right? When taking A main super aggressively. Sean, even though he's tagged by drones 2 rounds now, I've seen him take challenges while they're tagged by the dog. I mean, look, these peaks coming out of the duelist. They're playing with immense confidence right now. And they are busting 100 Thieves setups and winning the gun duels. What I'm seeing out of Gen.G is the perfect counter to 100 Thieves game plan.
Yeah, you love to see it. And what's interesting is there is the monkey on the back for Gen.G insofar as this element that they to their game that they do struggle to close the big matches even when they get big leads. And I feel like they're definitely in a position to not fall to that demon of theirs and to, you know, set it all straight going forward, but that still exists in the context, so we'll keep an eye out for that. But with that said, of course, we do see a kill in middle as we get a mid-round convergence of players towards Cat as Michael clears out Cat and Tree, and that will give access to the A site where a single player lurks. It's Nitro with the Sheriff.
Spike planted.
Ooh, they didn't actually clear him out. I don't think it should matter too much because he can't have much impact unless he slimes out on the left side here and dodges the A main guy. Is he gonna do it, Dan?
Player standing.
Versus 4 for Nitro. There's the first frag, and Win is going to knock him down, so no chance for Nitro there ultimately. Another round in the bag for Gen.G. They are 9-2 up. It's crazy. This is the best I've seen them look on an attacking side, and they've definitely been doing a lot of work in anticipation of this game.
They have, I mean, this is a dominant performance from Gen.G, and perhaps the best performance I've seen the Gen.G VALORANT squad put up in the recent months. They have been on a skyrocket type rise in the scene in NA, but this is special. Beating 100 Thieves 9-2 right now in attack, showing this kind of aggression. You know, 100 Thieves has no answers right now. Super quick mid control coming out of Gen.G. They're gonna break this alarm bot in a couple seconds.
And there's so much
coming
time.
out on Michael.
Yeah, there's so much time in the round, and I feel like Gen.G have so much control already. Hiko with the pick, and Steel getting aggressive through A main, and Asuna able to just make things a little bit slower towards that A site. So then Steel's able to capitalize as they're slowed on that catwalk position. It's all coming together for 100 Thieves. Great follow-up from Steel with that operator. And nice little flourish at the end to finish the half with at least 3 rounds to their name. 100 Thieves, certainly not in the best of positions, but that is going to give them something to work with going into the second half. And the second half, everything could change here. 100 Thieves are on the attack now. 100 Thieves get to set the pace. Of course, it all starts with the pistol, but this is definitely not over just yet.
No, I don't think it's over yet, but like you said, the pistol means a lot right now for both of these teams. I mean, Gen.G could just close this first map out so quickly by winning the pistol. By the way, I never thought I would see a defense-sided lockdown in tiles, but here we are.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, 100 Thieves has no one on the B side of the map right now. This is definitely gonna be a cat split, very similar to what we saw, you know, on the eco round from Gen.G. I think we're gonna see Hiko drone up cat, Ethan drone up A main with Ethan following it. These 3 guys going up catwalk together. A smoke at garden for them from Ethan.
Oh, Michael, I like this. Playing for A main control. And, oh, that's the spike as well, down from Michael. The trade from Win. That means Gen.G have spike control. And although, yeah, you got the A site 100 Thieves, you got to go back to A main now. And Win can waste time. He's got a cloud burst, drops it. He can fall back. He can even rotate up catwalk, which looks like he might be going for that. And this has bought time for Gen.G to get onto Rafters. And now another choke point for 100 Thieves to have to contest, but it's just simply too difficult. They are caught on both sides. The paranoia there. There goes the dash for a win to shut it down. Gen.G are going to take the pistol. And, oh, man, it's so... I can't... Sean, it's so... I love when teams... When the attacker's going up catwalk, they just take a main control and give up the site. I love that so much.
God, that is, I'm grinning ear to ear right now, Dan. It's just, it's so good to see a team like Gen.G come up through the ranks, and that might be an anti-strat because I've seen Hiko and Ethan do the same exact play previously in this bracket. So this is definitely a counter play, but I love how they recognize 100 Thieves had to wall heaven, so now they have to go back and get the spike. We should break this and be posted on them when they come out. Don't give them any respect. Don't let them have any free time to, you know, do their setups and allow them to run their strats. They're playing so disruptive.
And it's the Sheriff's back at it again here for 100 Thieves. Feels like we've been in this position a bunch of times in this Ascent game already. On the attack, they've gained some forward ground already towards mid-markets. Sean is still there, and he's got a crossfire.
Oh, they'll never expect this Omen, Dan. They'll never expect it. Great bait from Sean.
He's not trying to oversell it as well.
And then the guy shut... Oh, he overcommits.
Well, Gen.G has to try to close this down with a Spectre. He'll get both kills. There's the spike on the ground in control for Gen.G. As Michael finishes off one player top mid, Ethan's remaining. He is quite a beast with that Sheriff. We'll have to see if he can find any more action, but he'll get shut down as well. Gen.G not allowing any space to breathe for 100 Thieves as they go 11-3 in the lead.
Again, I mean, I can tell Gen.G has put in tons of homework. This is a lot of anti-shrouding going on. When we saw 100 Thieves previously approach their attack side of Ascent, Nitro would work up mid with this boom bot coming from Asuna, and then he would wall off CT spawn. They would break the door. They would cause a big ruckus. So you can see this setup was an exact counter to what 100 Thieves is running. And the pistol round, I could say the same exact thing. It's a perfect counter. 100 Thieves is just getting hard counter right now. They're running the same game plan, and Gen.G is super prepared. Hey, look at the disrespect to the turret you made. They're just...
Cool. Expecting to walk through the smoke there. Sean, as well as GMD, just doing so well in these forward positions, and oof, it's really tough right now if you're in 100 Thieves' shoes, of course. Very, very slim pickings. No margin for error at this point. Eco just with the ghost in the 1 versus 4. And Gen.G haven't shown signs of letting up a single time so far, playing everything with such a degree of focus that They seem like they have leveled themselves up. I haven't seen them looking so confident so far in this tournament until this moment. It looks very good.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, this looks beyond very good, Dan. This is like a showcase Gen.G is putting on for everyone right now, that they're a contender to win this tournament. They're definitely a dark horse based on what I'm seeing right now. Coming into the tournament, I mean, we all thought, Sentinels, 100 Thieves, FaZe, all these teams are going to be the ones to look out. Envy. No one really talks much about Gen.G, but they're now capable of this since adding Kusta, since making tiny changes to their comps, and just the style of play I see. Like, they're so proactive. Like this.
Wow. Yeah, Ethan taking down Win. Michael's in the 4th position. He doesn't want to give this up, though. He's going to be forced to eventually, and there is a paranoia used, actually. It's great to get that out of the hands of the attackers, at least. Michael falls back. Asuna, some space gained towards that B side as well. Spike being picked up by Nitro now as they'll all go back, but GMD in mid, this could actually cause problems because they have to cross these angles. They are rotating towards B, and Gen.G know absolutely everything that's happening. They are 2 against 4 though, so of course they are working from a great disadvantage in numbers, but again, holding the cross at GMD can, oh, well, there's the dark cover, so that ruins that one, but he's gonna go forwards through this one. So confident, you said it, Sean, but it won't work out for him this time. Ethan with the shutdown, leaving Michael alone with the operator in the 1 versus 4.
Oof, and absolutely, I mean, clearly a must-win round for 100 Thieves. They're down 12-3. They can't lose anymore. On the other hand, for Gen.G, you can see this is kind of a throwaway round. We mentioned it last half. They had Spectres. They didn't really invest everything they had into this round. And Mikhail's coming out of it with an operator. I mean, he picked this up off of Steel's body. So this is actually quite a successful round. Coming into the next round with an op for Hwin. He won't have to invest into it. I mean, 100 Thieves has a lot of work to do before I'm a believer in the comeback.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But this is a good start at the very least. As you say, it's kind of scary because you don't really know what Gen.G is. Oh, they actually got him beautiful there.
They both spammed him.
That's a huge win. I mean, well, speaking of Win and the operator, another one will be in the hands of Win, but that's a lot of money spent, of course.
Yeah, you can see that actually puts GMD on a Spectre, because what would have happened was Mikhail dropping the operator over to Hwin, and then Hwin dropping a rifle down to Mikhail, and then, Mikhail someone probably giving a gun over to GMD, probably Hwin, actually. And now look at the buy. It's very hobbled. That's a big find.
Jump Peak will find Win in mid, some information.
Look at this bait setup, Dan. This Reyna sitting in the corner. They know the turret's there. The second contact is made. Omen blind, swing.
Great kill from Steel. There's the blind, though. There's the swing, just as you said, Sean, and the trade is through for Gen.G. And that's actually, even though they go down 4 versus 4, that's a lot of info for them now. So there are some benefits to that, and you can see that 100 Thieves know that. They're going to speed things up, going for the push, but it's going to be difficult. There are 2 players on site. Nitro will deal with one of them with the wall behind the smoke that we've seen so many times before. And actually, after all is said and done on the A site, Gen.G are left only with 2 players. You are looking to be saving on that B side already.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of info for Gen.G. It was also a lot of info for 100 Thieves, right? The second Steel gets that frag, he knows 1's B main. The Omen paranoia comes through the wall. He knows 2 are B main. The Killjoy swings to take him out. He now knows they did a 3-person B setup, right? So that means across mid, across catwalk, across A, there's only 2 players. There's 2 players covering all the rest of the map. So 100 Thieves speeds it up super quick. After Steel realizes that, you can see the speed in which 100 Thieves approaches the A site. They pounce on it, the Omen ults into it. It's just too much to handle. They have a 4-on-2 in the A site, and it could have gone a little bit better, but everything goes 100 Thieves' way on this given round.
Yeah, I think you described it really nicely, and that is definitely that's the difficulty when you're playing against a team who's defaulting, because they have the ability to react on the fly to what they see. And we'll see if Gen.G decide to start playing more passively, start playing a bit more standard themselves as we go into the following gun rounds. And we're going to see a Bucky on Win. Of course, some of the saved rifles, but ultimately they're not going to be spending their last dime. They'll be keeping enough money for the following rounds. And looks pretty standard. from Gen.G side
And
of things.
I think when the turret makes contact at B main, he shock darts. So it just made contact. He's shock darting right now. I'm kind of curious if that... Oh, there it is right there. Yeah, that kind of hurt them a little bit.
I like
He's
it.
timing it off of the turret.
We saw 2 there. That's actually pretty big information, as opposed to just the Killjoy holding ground. But GMD spots the spike. He is on another level right now. Takes down a second player. Huge information there for both teams once again, but it's Gen.G that surely come out the better. Win in the cap position there with that Bucky can be extremely dangerous. And with a minute to go, 100 Thieves aren't necessarily pressed for time, but it does feel quite desperate for them as they start to rotate towards this A site. And it's a complete retake setup from Gen.G. Gen.G opting not to play for info just yet. They've got the forward position in win. They're happy to give up the A site and play that retake game. And there is no lockdown available, but Michael has the Hunter's Fury.
Steel is going to put down his lockdown. They have the showstopper on Austin. I'm curious if he's just going to run in with that. They have Ethan on smokes, but they lost Hiko's vision, right? They don't have a recon. They don't have a drone. They also don't have a wall, and they always use that wall on these A hits. So the hit seems a little bit hobbled coming out of 100 Thieves, but they're going to secure the site at very least.
Oh, the timing is beautiful from Asuna. So intelligent from him. And there's 3 versus 2 on the retake now, and it's a couple of Sheriffs and the Phantom. It's not looking great. Ethan able to take down Sean, and all of a sudden, it starts to look very favorable for 100 Thieves, defending the spike. Lots of time on the spike, lots of time for the defenders to work this retake. But resources aren't there, but oh, a distraction. Michael punishes Ethan, turning away, and it's down to Steel with the operator. We've seen great things from him. He's got to do it again. Finds the shot, the 1 versus 1, and again, he will not miss the Red Bull clutch for Steel, as he always is going to lead by example for 100 Thieves.
Whew. What an impactful round coming out of Steel. We've seen him a lot on the lurk. We haven't seen him opt this much, actually. This game, he's opt a lot. And I mean, people have their doubts on if this can work. When I read a lot of comments, you know, not having that Jet main on the op, they previously had Dicey. You know, that's so good for an operator, having those Jet movement abilities. Seeing it on Killjoy seems a little clunky, but Steel's kind of making it work so far.
There's the turret. Win will shoot that one down. 2 players B main, 2 players A main here for 100 Thieves on their default. With Steel just looking after mid with that operator. So they've got a lot of vision, and they spotted nothing so far from Gen.G, Sean. So they don't really know what Gen.G are working with on their defense just yet.
No, they have A main, like you mentioned. GMD is throwing some smokes there, and Gen.G has this insane triangle setup on Catwalk. If 100 Thieves takes this round into Catwalk, they would be in big trouble. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the intent of 100 Thieves this round. It looks like they're probably going to end up gravitating a little bit more towards the B site. I mean, Nitro looks like he wants to wall up and look into the site. He might make that play soon. I think he is.
Kusa does have a lockdown as well. So this is, yeah.
Oh, he's going to TP in the site, Dan. He's going to TP in.
Oh, let's see it. Oh, love the Ice Orb as well, trying to punish the B stairs player. That is Kusta on the Killjoy. He's in a pretty difficult spot, but that's some good damage from Kusta. He's surely got to be aware of this wall situation. Nothing's come of the walls just yet in terms of actual frags, and in fact, it's going to go the reverse. Nitro falling off of the wall thanks to Sean. However, the trays come through, and it's hard to see exactly what's going on, but with Sean's double, that will change everything. They can't get through the choke point, and 100 Thieves now have no time to do anything else. It's just Steel again with the operator, and, well, he's going to go down, and that's the 13-6. Gen.G with an extremely confident showing out of the gate, smashing 100 Thieves, putting any doubts to rest on map 1 here, and going into Icebox, where, again, previously 100 Thieves managed to beat them handily. It's looking very scary for 100 Thieves right now.
It's looking real scary. I mean, you mentioned before the series, I know you're a big fan of 100 Thieves Icebox, so I think you've probably seen them play Icebox even more than me at this point. I think they're an insanely strong team on that map, so by no means is this series over, because that was Gen.G's pick, and we mentioned a lot of times on the cast, a lot of anti-stratting, I feel like, went into that one. They can't know for sure what map 100 Thieves is going to pick themselves, so it's a little bit harder for teams to anti-strat the opposing team's pick. So this map might play out very differently.
Well, there's so many questions to be answered, and they will be answered soon. But first, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back with map 2.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than just a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, as well as Discovery Plus, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best. Only from Verizon.
Let's go.
Apply now at redbullcampusclutch.com.